Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Tuesday, March 19th. So I thought today we spend a little bit of time on, because Amos brought it up, and I know it may interest other people too, certain programs that I use in editing and so forth. And a little bit on, because I was really surprised I did that quick video on the service, and I knew I was overlooking a lot of things, and I can't thank you guys enough, Travis, Jason, you know, of pointing other things out that we do. But I'll go into that. So stick with us. Alright, so welcome back. My name is Eric, and if this is the first time you're seeing us, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. We got the weekend show, and we do some repair videos here and there. So today we're going to talk about how much AI has come into our lives, good or bad. It's coming, folks. The other is on some answers to general service questions, and I think I'm going to make a longer one, in depth, step by step by step, because I think it would be helpful. You know, a couple ones like asking about the blades. If the blades can be sharpened, we take them right off the unit. We don't try to sharpen them on it, and we do balance the blades before we put them back on. Most often the case is the customers in our area, we have a lot of sandy loam, a lot of rock ledges, and they end up hammering it so bad that it's not fixable, it's not sharpenable. And by the time you take all the bad spots out, you haven't got a blade left. So again, it's location, and how often that mower is being used, right? And I want to talk some about the video yesterday with the economy. But the reason I was kind of rushed yesterday and I put that video together is I was contemplating whether to go up and give the cows some grain. Here's a real quick story. So I go up every day and I give the cows their grain, their hay, silage bale. I'm like a postman, nor sleet, nor rain, no snow, no what have you, right? Well, Sunday I was up there, and by no fault of the yearling, I went and I give, because they were all right there, and sometimes it's hard when they're right there because I'm right there among them. I'm not outside of a fence pouring grain in. I am physically in there with them. And sometimes I get excited. Usually I can just kind of calm them down. Sunday was a little different. Sunday was, they were getting all excited about getting their grain, like they always do. And one of the yearlings got in between me and one of the older cows and the trough. So one of the older cows just dropped her head and give the yearling a push. Well, it's kind of like the domino where Humpty Dumpty sat on that wall. Sure enough, I had just given him a half a pail in the first trough. I have 4 troughs for him, and I was trying to walk around to get the other side. So what ended up happening was I got bumped, and I went to turn, and one of the other 2-year-olds stepped right on my foot. I wear steel-toed boots, but she stepped right on my foot. And I went to turn, and I went backwards, and I ended up hitting my head on the back of the loader frame, and then my shoulders on the front pumpkin of my 4-wheel drive tractor. Now, it's smarted, but my biggest concern now is I got a pail of grain, and I've got over 50 animals that want that grain, and I'm on my back in the cow shed. So what surprised me, which didn't surprise me, but it did, I have what I call her, she's Mama Dextra. And I've had her since she was 5 months old. I bought her and her brother from another guy that was looking to thin his herd down. And since she's given me one beautiful calf, but she weighs 1,400. She's like a hippo with big horns. And she had already started eating in the first half pail I threw. But once she saw me hit the ground, she stopped eating her grain. She come over and she put her head down to the rest of them and pushed them right back, and then used her nose to try to help me get back up again. So I didn't really feel like going up there last night because I'm still sore as hell. But that's part of farming, it's part of anything. And I tell you the story because no matter what you're doing, an accident can happen at any time. And you decide how bad it can be, right? You try to minimize risks. With animals, it's hard to. With the bigger animals, when you have, I've got 8 or 9 steers up there, Angus steers that are well over 1,200 pounds. And one's a baby, but the rest of them, they're not wild, but they're feisty. Anyhow, so I didn't go up last night. So I said, well, shoot, I'm going to do a video quick. It's the economy, stupid. Anyways, you commented on how the lawnmowers had skyrocketed. And I think one of you other guys had mentioned about a Toro 30-inch for $1,700. It's asinine. And I don't understand why. They can play the inflation game. Really, they can, but am I supposed to feel sorry for them? See, this is the way the world has always worked, is you basically crap on the little guy. If there's any added cost to anything, you pass it on. That's kind of what your big companies are well known for doing. And Amos can probably tell you that. And certain costs are unavoidable. Setup fees, so forth. But in order for a business, if it starts getting into troubled water, the only way a business can remain profitable is either jack the rates up to cover the loss or downsize. Because one of your biggest costs, honestly, are employees and the benefits. It really is. And so that's what a lot of companies do. They tell you how they made money for the past 6 months. What they're not saying is they laid off 3,000 employees to do it. Because they want to look good in the markets. So now you got 3,000 people that no longer have a good paying job that are buying maybe something you're selling or a service that you're selling, lawnmower repair. They no longer can afford it. So it's called the trickle-down economy. You can say what you want about Trump, but Trump, when he did things, did it help the guys up higher? Yeah. With the different things he did for the bigger companies, And when I say bigger companies, I'm saying, ones that are over 20 employees, tax breaks and so forth. But with doing that, if you make a company profitable, they will continue to pay their employees, and they will stick around versus pulling up stakes. But everybody, what I was getting at yesterday in the video is everybody is trying to pass down from my CPAs to my massage therapists, everybody, and we didn't used to do this, but now we just everybody keep trying to pass it on to the next person, right? And it's not that it costs my massage therapist anymore to do an hour massage. Actually, I give her a huge case of that stuff she uses to moisturize your skin. That during COVID, one of the local distributors bought a bunch of it, got stuck with it, and I bought some for a little bit of nothing and give it to her. She's not basing it on what her costs are at the business. She's basing it on what her costs are for her home life. And somewhere there's got to be a separation, all right? If you're in business, right? And if your parts go up in price, and you're telling me you have to raise the cost of your parts to offset what the distributor just charged you, I can say, okay, I understand that part of it. But if you're telling me you're raising the prices on the parts because a loaf of bread down at your A&P is more money, are you eating bread at work? See, that's what I've always done with business. I draw a distinction between my home life and my work life. Even when I work for somebody else, I have my work life, and then when I took off my work clothes, I didn't bring work to home. I didn't take home to work. And for almost 20 years, I worked in one of the most hazardous jobs there is, and that's underground mining. I did not want my family worrying about what was going on at work, and I did not want to be worrying about my family while I was at work, where I should be concentrating on doing the job and staying safe. And I've done that with business, and I'd be surprised if anyone hasn't. And just by him saying he has his corporate, his LLC for his cattle, his farming venture, and then their personal taxes, tells me he keeps things separate. So what I was getting at is, if your costs haven't risen, then can you justify raising your rates? And you can do whatever you want. What I'm getting at is that once you raise your rates and you get people to look at, what am I getting for that value? What kind of value do I get out of it? And if they start raising their rates to drive themselves out of that market of value, and I can go over here and start with a new massage therapist for $35 cheaper an hour, you're taking a big risk. You either got more people than you know what to do with, because she lost a lot of them during COVID that never come back. What I was trying to get across yesterday is you run the risk of alienating your customers. And there's always something cost adjusting with the business. You know, everything from your minimum wage requirements to what benefits you offer, and just endless. But just because you run a business in a certain way that is costing more and you need to raise your rates to cover those costs. Don't knock the guy that's streamlined as much as he can and he's at a lower rate. I guess is sometimes you don't get what you pay for. You're getting that trickle down economy of people in business passing on their mess ups, their costs onto you. Versus you get, as long as you get value from it, I don't care. They could charge $300 an hour. If you get value, if you feel valued, then we have no conversation. But if you start looking at value at what cost, and I think most homeowners, most individuals, most of us are looking at that now. Is there a lot of value for what I'm paying? And each of us have to make our own mind up when it comes to, do we continue? Do we try to haggle the price? Or do we just simply say, see ya, you need to go somewhere else or discontinue it? That's what I was getting at. Alright, so we're going to do some stuff that I promised it with Amos with the AI and stuff. That what's out there, we can't avoid it. Alright, so no matter what you do, where you go, and you're going to encounter AI now, whether you want to or not. Because all your bigger businesses have now opted to use AI to their advantage because it's so much faster and it's cheaper than paying people to do the same things that AI is doing. And it used to be, I can remember when they said machines were going to take the place of the common worker, especially with auto plants, where they brought in these robotics, and it was neat at the time. But they brought in these robotics where they were doing the repetitive movements, whether it be welding or what have you. And that robotic arm or what have you could do that 24 hours a day, 365 days a year with basic maintenance. Whereas an employee couldn't, right? And the costs were big. I can remember to do that. The automakers were, I think, the first ones, but they bought the units one at a time until the next thing you know, the whole assembly line is set up where you have actual workers working with robotics, in unison. That was the beginning. But that was, you punched in, you provided a specific task, the parameters, and this is the way it did. And unlike a human where you could just tell them, well, just pick up that door and just set it over here, there's a lot of programming that goes into telling that robotic arm what you want it to do, because it has to be every millisecond of what it's doing, which direction it's going, when to squeeze, when not to squeeze. So it's pretty in depth, but now it's not that hard because AI is doing the programming. So when I say no matter what you do or say or have you, you're going to encounter it whether you want to or not. I'm being 100% truthful. And Claude, he was talking to me yesterday about how his daughter is teaching him how to text. He's 72. And I got him on Facebook this year. He's refused until this year. And the only reason he wanted to be on Facebook is so he could look at Marketplace and see what stuff was for sale. He don't want nobody knowing his business. And I think he's seen some of the advantages of it, but he's on his daughter's phone plan with Verizon, and he just got the latest iPhone 15. And you're talking about a guy that resisted going from his flip phone to a regular phone until it was no longer available. And he doesn't bring his phone to work with him because it smashed the screen and everything else. So the only time he uses his phone is when he leaves his house and he goes grocery shopping or something like that. He has the phone in the truck. So somebody needs to get a hold of him. But AI is everywhere now because, you know, even he was saying it's got facial recognition. Enough. And you don't have to punch in to call somebody. You just say call so and so and automatically calls them. And I said what it also tells you, Claude, is listening. It's listening all the time as well as calling. So it's listening to all your conversations, whether you like it or not. And it was the same way. And I'm not a big fan of it. I don't have the latest AI iPhone. I've got an old LG track phone that I use and I can text and message just as well as anybody else. But I have to physically go in there and punch in if I want to call someone, unless I go into my truck and then it goes to Bluetooth, then I can use the Android feature of call this one, call that one. But when it comes to with me and doing videos, see now I do almost all my video in Clipchamp, which is something Microsoft came out with. And I also signed on for a year with vidIQ and TeleBuddy or something like that. And what I can tell you is all three programs are using AI. I have the option in Clipchamp or in vidIQ to create a video from scratch using AI without me doing anything other than just telling them, make a video on this. And they will go out and make a video. Now, I tried a while back using ChatGPT because I am a tech guy. I mean, that's what I got, a bachelor's in IT. That's what I went to school for. So I'm not going to turn away the latest innovation because I'm always curious. But I'm more curious of how much are they allowing it to run free? And the old saying of garbage in, garbage out is exactly. Whatever you feed it is what you're going to get back. You know, if you run a bunch of numbers and you're doing your Excel sheet or whatever, it's going to give you out a spit out of the sum of those numbers as long as you put the numbers in right? So when I do my videos, I use I use Clipchamp. And Clipchamp, you can use AI to shorten all the pauses and this and that, to do a text written step by step of what you're saying, captions, and I've kind of held back on that. I've used Grammarly for years, and I use that because it shortens. You know, I've written a couple different books I haven't ever published that in my free time I've used that program because Grammarly it's kind of like a book writing software that you could type in and so forth, and it would show you better words and saying less to get the same meaning. And you could either keep it or toss it, one or the other. And I still use that when I get done writing what my description is, I'll highlight it and have Grammarly take a look at it and see if there's any changes I want to make to it, or make it sound better, or, you know, better titles, shorten the titles. But I still have control over it. Now with ChatGPT, I tried that a couple different times, and the tendency I got was it's kind of like far left. If you write, "Is there a God?" and you tell it, "Here's the title, here are the parameters. I want to talk about God in school, God in the home life, God in everyday thing, and belief system." What you end up with is it will not use God anywhere. It will say higher power, because it doesn't agree with God. And it's the same thing with any of your things that can cause a controversy. Transgenders, identifying as, on and on. If it's just like somebody from the left is writing it for you, rewriting it to make it sound better forward, and not what your true meaning was. So that's why I don't use them. But we're seeing even right here with YouTube, with you guys trying to write comments, you have the latest AI checking everybody's comments as it comes through. And if you don't follow their little worm, then they delete your post. Instead of rewriting it, they delete it. If you have a controversial thing, then they just figure, well, if it can't be seen or heard, kind of like what happened with Facebook during COVID and Biden's son during the election, they suppress it. And it's never good to suppress one side. You try to get both sides, and then the answer is somewhere in the middle of the truth. So on that note, guys, I hope that's kind of helped you, Amos, because I know you're doing the videos thing too. I subscribe to you. And the good, the bad, and the ugly, you have to try it out and see what you think. Clipchamp is, I have a Microsoft account that I have Microsoft 360. And that's Word, Excel, all those. And Clipchamp comes along in it for free. So on that note, guys, you guys have a great Tuesday. Let me try to put together a more in-depth video on, I'll just take one of those lawnmowers. We'll get good lighting and I can show you step by step by step. And then I'll answer some of your questions when I get into the shop this morning. Thanks so much for watching. You guys have a great day.